Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Kelly. I am joining you here from the home office, actually the main office, the real office, instead of working from home today on Wednesday. And I have my coffee. I read an article of totally you'd have to be a dummy not to know some of these things, but ways to help save the planet and reduce your carbon footprint. And I own, I don't know, if you ask my husband, he'd say 1,000,000 of these reusable coffee mugs. I probably own 20, and I rarely use them when I order at Starbucks. So today I, in the rain, got out of my car, went into Starbucks, handed them my mug, and said I wanted a grande whole milk, 1 pump of cinnamon dolce latte. So that's what I'm having this morning. I'm having it in a reusable mug and doing my part to help save the planet. And I am starting this, the first Mythbuster May episode. So today is May 2nd, and we're going to tackle a myth that someone submitted, Shannon O'Keefe, who's one of my colleagues and who practices law here in Greeley. And Shannon asked, is it true or is it a myth that your former employer can't say bad things about you after you leave, even if they're true? So this is a great question and one I haven't tackled before, so I'm excited to dig in. We're actually going to make this a two-part. I may tackle a second question next week, depending on how much information I track down. To be honest, this, I think, is a myth a lot of us have heard and that I actually don't know 100% the answer to. I do know a couple things about it, though, so I'm going to talk briefly about those today, and then I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I might do some investigative reporting next week. I'm getting together with my tribe of other employment law attorneys next week for a conference. So I'm going to pick brains of some of the other people in my brain trust and get the rest of the story for you. A little nod to Paul Harvey, who played a big role in my interest in radio growing up. So so the question again is, can an employer say bad things about you even if they're true, or they're not supposed to say bad things about you after you leave an employer? So one of the things that comes up that I know would definitely make this true is if they were things that would defame the person that you're saying them about. So a statement is defamatory if it would tend to reduce the opinion of someone else about that person. So it doesn't have to be untrue. A lot of people think defamation means, or libel or slander means, that it has to be a statement that's not true. That's not necessarily the case. If it's something that would reduce your opinion of someone, make you respect them less, make you think less of them. So for example, if I am chronically late, I have been in my entire life, I'm late for almost everything. And if someone called my former employer may very well say, and it would be true, she shows up late sometimes. They might even say she shows up late all the time, and that would probably not be totally untrue. I try really hard not to show up late to court, and I try really hard not to show up late to client appointments. And other than that, I roll in when I get there. And that got even worse after having a child. So that would be true, but it would also make you think less of me if you knew that about me. And since it's coming from my mouth, it's not a defaming statement. But if someone else said that about me, it would make you think less of me. And that is a defamatory statement. So that person could be liable, the person who said it, my former boss, and also the company, because my former boss is a manager and she would be an agent of the company that I used to work for. So even though it's true, because it would reduce your opinion of me, and because it's not a matter of public concern, this is not something that needs to be announced from the rooftops to warn everybody that I'm usually late, that subjects them to liability for defamation. No good. You don't want to be liable for defamation, especially if it interferes with my ability to get a job. So that's a bad one. The other one that definitely comes to mind when I'm thinking about former employers talking badly about former employees is blacklisting. So blacklisting is actually a crime, and if you are reaching out to a prospective employer affirmatively trying to keep someone from getting a job, that's definitely going to put you over the line and into problem territory for blacklisting. And certainly probably going to put you in hot water for defamation or slander. But I think you could get into trouble even if prospective employers were calling you as the former employer and you're making negative statements with the intention or knowing, or you should have known that it would keep a person from being able to get a job. This tends to come up when someone works in a very specific industry. So I had a client who worked in the at-home oxygen industry. So he would help deliver oxygen tanks to people's homes, and there were some concerns that his employer was calling all the other companies that did that kind of work and trying to keep him from getting a job. So that's bad news. That would be blacklisting. So where I'm going to come down on whether or not this is a myth is I'm going to say it is sort of true. And I realize this is going to be backward because Facebook Live does like a selfie version, so it's going to be backward. I'll see if I can figure out how to draw this backwards so that it will reflect the correct direction next week. I'm going to say it's sort of true that an employer can't say bad things about you, but not necessarily for the reason that you think. I am going to do a little research. I don't think there's a statute out there that says you cannot say negative things about a former employee, but it gets you into trouble with defamation and blacklisting potentially. And I'm going to have more answers for you next week to see if we can narrow it down to a straight up fact by next week to tap into the brain trust and see if other people think there might be more to the story. So thanks, Craig, for watching. I see Craig joining me live. And if you have a question for Mythbuster May, include it in the comments below, or you can include it as a comment of my post that I put up last week. And we'll see if we can debunk some of these myths as we go through Coffee with Kelli Live in May. Thanks for joining me. Have a great Wednesday.